This is Bryn, and this is the Daily Joe. Good morning! Welcome to Monday and the next step to your successful future. If you've been here even a short amount of time, you know that I see Mondays as a fresh opportunity and not horrible torture. So today I'm talking about 7 answers to the most frequently asked questions about writing. Disclaimer, these are the ones that I get asked all the time. So, without further ado, here we go in order of frequency from least to greatest. Number 1. Did you go to school to be a writer? No. I was a communications major with a focus specifically on theater. English and history were my minors. Seriously, I feel like if I went back to school to get a creative writing major now, I wouldn't do very well. Commercial writing is so different from the academic setting. And I believe that actually it would be more damaging than it would be helpful. My class focuses in college, however, were invaluable. Number 2. I have an idea. Will you write it? No. And please don't tell me about it. Second to this question is usually, you should write, fill in the blank. That comes up a lot. Number 3, how did you get started? I frequently tell stories about writing my first novel when I was in high school, and it's absolutely true. I did this to entertain my biology lab partner. I never really wrote much else until I was about 21. And then I didn't get serious about writing for several years after that, though I did write a lot in those interim years. Truth be told, in high school and then later when I was in my 20s, I wrote out of boredom. It entertained me, but the idea of actually publishing wasn't really realistic to me. But more and more, the desire to put my books out in the world grew. And that's when I started writing seriously. Even so, it was a good 8 years until I was finally published. That was quite a year. It started out with an essay published in a parenting magazine. And then I had a short story published in True Story magazine. And then barely a month later, my first book was accepted for publication. Now, I have to remind you, these were in the years before indie publishing was a big thing. It was pretty much unheard of, during that time. It wasn't until much later that indie publishing actually came around. Number 4, how do you write that much? With the usual follow-up of, I could never write that much. Short answer, well, I make a schedule and a skeleton outline for the day, and then I sit at my desk and put my hands on the keyboard and type. So, for more information on my actual process, see my plotting article for how in depth I actually go. Number 5, do you ever use people you know in your books? No, not really. That would be pretty nerve-wracking. I'd always be worried that they'd find out and not like what I wrote. Plus, there's the whole disclaimer thing at the front of the book about people and events not being real, yada, yada, yada. I don't want to lie. That said, there was one time that I used a person as my initial model for a character. Then I changed everything about them. And everything that took place in the book was fictional. It's hard to explain, but it was like a jumping off point before actually creating a solely fictional person. Number 6, have I ever read anything that you've written? Truly, probably no. Now you, dear readers, likely have. But the people who usually ask this are guys or older women from my church. Plus, being an indie author, it's not like my books are in the supermarket. Yet, many of the people who ask me are ones who don't read on a tablet of some sort. And they only read quote, big name authors, and a lot of non-romance. Number seven. This is our final one. The thing I get asked the most often. Where do you get your ideas? Oh golly, where don't I get ideas? Everything, and I'm going to warn you, I say sparks a lot because ideas really are sparks. Everything sparks them. They come from nowhere. They come from article headlines online, in newspapers, or in magazines. They come from one-liners about situations I hear about. They come from watching sports. They come from things that spark while listening to a podcast. They come from dreams. They come from research. They come from other stories I've written. Most authors will tell you their stories spark other stories. And I think that's why there are so many series out there, because of stories sparking other stories. The possibility of idea sources they're infinite. And you just have to have your eyes and your ears and your mind open. So, today, August 5th, 2019, well, all week, I'm bowled under on the final days of my current project. I'm going to be heads down, finger on keyboard, fingers, not just one finger, fingers on keyboard all day, except for during my music lesson. So not a lot to say other than I will be writing 4 chapters. Don't forget, The Problem with Billionaires comes out August 15th, and you can pre-order it now. Also, Wedding Jitters is free right now, and it will be until Wednesday. It's also on Kindle Unlimited, so if you miss the free days, you can still pick it up that way once it goes back to 99 cents. Have a great day. This is Bryn, signing off.